The liberation is complete. Trump just finished his Liberation Day speech, and I took many notes and posted them. So I'm just going to run you through the keys of what happened, and I'm going to try to make it quick because, first of all, they draped the White House in flags, and he came out to hail to the chief and had like all these people applauding him in the Rose Garden. So you knew it was going to be good. He said, America's industry would be reborn and America's destiny reclaimed. For decades, the country had been graped by friend and foe alike, that foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ravaged our factories. American taxpayers have been ripped off for 50 years, and it's not going to happen anymore. He said that reciprocal tariffs mean they do it to us, we do it to them. He's calling it the day of economic independence and promises trillions of dollars to pay down great national debt and taxes. He says America will be greater than ever before, jobs and factories will come back, more production at home will mean lower prices for consumers. And then, quote, this is indeed the golden age of Americans. He then said Florida last night was a great success. Other countries have been placing non-monetary barriers that are worse than monetary barriers. They've stolen the IP of Americans, imposed back taxes, adopted unfair rules, created filthy pollution havens, and demanded the U.S. pay for it. He then held up this big report called Foreign Trade Barriers that he called a special book and says this has all been going on for 30 years, though earlier he said it was 50 and then later on he said it's 40, so long time. He then started rambling about auto tariffs targeting India, Thailand, Vietnam, Europe, South Korea, and Japan, said that Toyota sells too many cars in the US and that GM and Ford sell almost none. And then said there's a horrendous imbalance that have put national security at risk. Not the only time he invoked national security. You should be scared about that. And then he announced they will now impose 25% tariffs on any foreign-made automobiles, which you all already knew was happening. Then he brought up this guy. The guy was like not an expert in anything. He's just from Detroit and works in the automotive industry. And he's a huge Trump supporter and was like wearing a Trump MAGA visor and stuff. And then he yapped for a while. And he said he can't wait to see what the benefits are 6 months to a year from now. Fun fact, it takes like a decade to build a factory. It's not going to turn around that quickly. Even if it was possible, it's not possible. Anyways, he said that American farmers and ranchers are brutalized by other nations, singling out Canada and our dairy tariffs I'm not going to get into again. Basically, he was trying to say at one point, they give you the first carton real cheap and then they charge you a lot for the other cartons of milk. Like we're drug pushers or something. That's not what happened. Then he targeted the EU for banning poultry and Australia for banning beef. He doesn't seem to understand why other countries don't want American food in their stores. Then he started ranting about rice in China, Japan, and Korea and how they're really unfair to Americans and they don't want American rice. 80% of the rice grown in America is eaten by Americans, so I don't know what he's talking about. Then he just started like rambling about numbers. Then he went on to say from 1789 to 1913, the U.S. was the wealthiest it has ever been. And in the 1880s, they established a commission to figure out what to do with all the money they were collecting. And then he said in 1913, for, quote, reasons unknown to mankind, they started collecting income taxes. And that was the cause of the Great Depression, according to Trump. And it wouldn't have happened if they just kept up with tariffing everything. So he said, quote, it's not too late. We're going to start being smart and start being very wealthy again. They've taken so much wealth from us. And he called it economic warfare. Then he called NAFTA a horror show, said that the U.S. has lost 90,000 factories since NAFTA started. Then he started rambling about trade deficits, which I don't think he knows what that is. He said they had to go to foreign countries to treat our sick and that all computers are imported. Then he called it again a threat to national U.S. security. Then he said they would calculate a combined amount of all the tariffs from other countries with non-monetary measures, with other cheating, and then charge them half the amount. This is the math that he's doing to get to these reciprocal tariff prices. And he said they're doing it because they're incredibly kind. And then he got Howard Lutnick to bring out this chart. And it is quite a hefty lift, but some highlights. China will be tariffed 34%, the EU 20%, Japan 24%, Taiwan 32%, South Korea 25%, Thailand 36%. It goes on and on and on. The UK 10% because there's going to be a 10% tariff just across the board on everything. That you can read the whole chart. It's crazy. Weirdly, Canada and Mexico not on that chart. He rambled about making a really good deal on reciprocal tariffs with Shinzo Abe. the former president of Japan, who was assassinated in 2022. He said, we got a great deal done with him from beyond the grave. Then he talks about other countries. This 10% tariff will be on other countries to prevent cheating and grow America's wealth. He kept talking about how we're going to be so wealthy, we're going to have more wealth than ever before. Just a reminder, the American people are going to be paying more. So the wealth is going to his rich friends and not you. In fact, you are going to be very poor, Americans. This is bad for you. And he also said that any kings and queens and leaders of other nations that want to break have to stop manipulating their currency, start buying tens of billions of dollars of American goods, move their businesses to America, and remove all their tariffs. Okay. He then called it something very special to watch. And then he said he was too busy to do press conferences at all the good news that's happening because he needs to stop Russia, Ukraine, the Middle East, and the Houthis. Then he went on a rant about war for a little while. He claims that Apple, OpenAI, SoftBank, Oracle, NVIDIA, TSMC, Johnson & Johnson, Meta, Eli Lilly, CMH, CGM, Merck, Stellantis, GM, Honda, and Hyundai are all investing in the U.S. with billions, according to Trump. And then he mentioned Lee Iacocca. And now I know that TikTok is probably not the audience for Lee Iacocca talk, but Lee Iacocca was very renowned in the 1960s and 1980s when he was a automotive CEO, and he has been dead since 2019. Then he said, in the coming days, there will be complaints from the globalists and outsourcers and fake news. He also said the Trans-Pacific Partnership was terminated by him because it was a disaster, but in actual fact, the TPP pivoted when Trump dropped out and formed a CPTPP, and it's been great for Canada and other countries. Then he talked about how 40 years ago, he was, quote, young and very handsome, and that he was prescient and knew all of this was going to happen and said it often in his speeches. He didn't use the word prescient. I don't think he knows what that word is. He also said Biden had a special relationship with China and made some hand gesture that I didn't quite catch because I was typing at the time, but I assume it was gross. And then he started rambling about the election. He said egg prices are down 59% and that the availability is fantastic. Everyone should use real eggs for Easter. Then he started talking about groceries. He said groceries are, quote, an old-fashioned term that people don't use. It's a bag with different goods in it, real man of the people stuff. He also said millions and millions and millions of people were pouring over the open borders in the U.S., and Kristi Noem has been doing a great job, but they've had problems with the radical left judges who want to bring back the people and are standing in their way. And he said, we now have a border that's the best border. It's even better than the best border that it was before. And then he went on to say that America still needs people to come to America, immigrants to come to America legally, but they need them to work in the auto sector, non-union. Then he started rambling about this other thing called One Big Beautiful Bill for big tax cuts and every incentive there is, and one bill that will straighten out the whole country for many years to come. For American-built cars, there'll be an interest rate tax deduction that will pay for itself very quickly, according to him. Then he says he's going to right-size the budget, and he won't like his senators if they don't get it passed, and that every Republican congressman and senator must unify and get it done, whatever he wants. He claims that he's done more in the first 100 days than any president in history, and even the fake news is reporting it, in which case he says that's not fake. If they say good things about him, it's not fake, apparently. Then he went on to say the Ukraine-Russia war would never have happened if he was president, and that humanity is a terrible thing. Quote, he literally said, humanity is a terrible thing. But just a quick reminder, Russia invaded Crimea in 2014. He was president in 2016 to 2020 during that whole situation. So that was it for the press conference. Really suspicious that there was not really mention of Greenland, Canada, and Mexico, which is making Canada a little bit nervous. That's as quick as I could make this. Sorry for the long update.